Welcome back to COVID Comms, where I want to help you navigate, survive, and move towards thriving throughout COVID-19. Today, we're talking about too much of a good thing. In the second video in this series, I spoke about the need for a leader to be a thermostat and to set the atmosphere within their team rather than a thermometer and reflect it, to reflect the fears and anxieties through this time. If you haven't seen that video, I'd highly recommend you go back and watch it. It is a great one, and I might even put the link to the video in the comments below for easy access. But in response to that, I had a question come through from Alan Pinsker. And Alan, he writes, some leaders believe that OTT positivity, or over-the-top positivity, laced with a dismissive attitude against negativity, is the way to go in a crisis. But this is not the case. It undermines trust. Can you do a video about that? Well, Alan, if you are watching this video, thank you so much for your question, and you are 100% right. There is such thing as too much of a good thing. It's like when we overplay our strengths. In those situations when we overuse the very things that we are good at, they can become the very things that derail our performance and our leadership. And the same thing happens to a leadership approach during a crisis. If a leader uses positivity too much to encourage their people throughout a crisis, well then they risk being seen as out of touch. It portrays a perception that they don't fully understand the gravity of the situation, nor do they understand the reality that the people on the front line are actually facing. Excessive positivity can also be seen as denial, where a leader refuses to acknowledge the situation and such that they are shirking their responsibilities to both lead and support the team throughout this time when things get tough. It can also come across as incredibly dismissive, and during a time when people more than ever need to hear their concerns validated. So when we actually go to the science and look at what it says about too much positivity, David Collinson writes a great article critiquing what he calls the tyranny of the positive. And from a leadership perspective, he comes up with the term Prozac leadership. And so Prozac is the world's leading antidepressant drug, and it essentially creates this artificial happiness. So Prozac leaders, they lead in a way that creates a artificial positivity. And one of the problems that, in addition to everything else that we've discussed already, one of the things that Collinson highlights is that Prozac leaders, they make people feel like they can't raise legitimate concerns or risks because it runs counter to the positive narrative that the leader's running. And as a result, the leader gets blindsided by issues and concerns that he did not deal with because he didn't know that they existed. And that's the last thing that we need right now. So don't be a Prozac leader. You know, the reality is that times are tough. We're in the middle of the crisis. There is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear and anxiety. Don't shirk away from having the hard conversations with your people. Be honest, be authentic. But at the same time, your people more than ever need a message of both encouragement and hope. They need to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And if they can see that light, then they're going to be willing to deal with and put up with whatever measures you need to put in place to make sure that your business survives and to get your business through the other side and the organizational aircraft back into the air. Hopefully with a few modifications that are going to allow that business and your organizational aircraft to soar higher than ever before. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you've got any questions like Alan did, please put them in the comments below. I would love to answer them in future episodes of COVID Comms. If you found value in this video, I'd also really appreciate it if you'd share it so that other people can get that same value and I can help as many people move towards thriving throughout this time. Stay tuned for more COVID Comms, and until then, lead well.